to go away when you return.
I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you. I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you. I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you. I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you. I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you. I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you. I'm on my way home. Can't wait to see you.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Patrick Carey with Church of the Eternal Logos. And tonight, I have a very fun and relaxed stream for you titled Cowboy Wisdom, Horses, Life, and a Preserving of the Old Ways. And so tonight we're going to be, again, this is going to be a different kind of feel than my usual streams. This is not a thesis-based stream. I'm not going to be hitting you with a bunch of information. We're actually going to be relaxing and watching what is now one of my favorite YouTube channels. And so in the last couple weeks, I just stumbled across this YouTube channel due to it appearing in my sort of recommended video selection. And what it is a YouTube channel called Dry Creek Wrangler School. And a gentleman named Dwayne him and his wife are in charge of this channel. And basically, he is a real-life cowboy, a wrangler, a packer. And he's lived his entire life doing that type of work. And he's raised a family of 7 kids. And now he has created this YouTube channel. And it's only like a little over a year old, because he wants to educate people on how to handle horses, dealing with sort of that traditional lifestyle, that outdoorsman cowboy lifestyle, because he is fearful of essentially the world that his grandkids are going to grow up in, and wanted to create a sort of library for them where he's basically educating people on a variety of different topics. And so some of the topics are like putting a saddle on with a rifle, how to carry a handgun in your saddle, or all this types of stuff on horseback, and how to communicate with your horses. But that's not what we're going to be watching. We're going to be watching some of his reflective videos you can get. Guys, smash that like for everybody here. Please smash that like. I really, really appreciate it. And so he reflects on life, on training horses, on animals, on the lifestyle he's lived, and the lessons and the takeaways are true for anybody. And so I have a real hard time lately watching content. So when I pull up my phone, usually I always have like some type of YouTube video going on or whatnot. But many of the philosophy videos I normally watch, it's like I'm kind of bored with I don't know, the presenters, some of their faulty precepts or my disagreements with them. And so a lot of the content that I just usually watch, it just hasn't really resonated with me. And so last couple weeks, it's like I really don't watch anything, but there's this one channel, again, Dry Creek Wrangler School, teaching people how to be cowboys. This old man that's probably in his 50s, that continues to resonate with me. Now, do I want to be a cowboy? No, I don't. And do I watch videos on topics that I will probably never use? Yes, I do. But every single video I watch of this guy, there is takeaways there that I really enjoy and that I can utilize in my life. And so I wanted to, and it happened today. I wasn't going to do a stream. I've been thinking about doing a stream on this channel because it's quite, it's like 85,000, I think, last time I checked. It's only a little over a year old, so he's blown my channel away. We're over here doing Orthodox theology and apologetics, and I'm struggling to grow my channel, but based on what we talk about regarding masculinity, traditional values, ruggedness, sort of opposition to modernity, and where the world is going, again, the Great Reset, everything post-2020, I felt like the wisdom that this man drops is useful not just for all of us, but some of you may actually decide to adopt this lifestyle. Because it's a lifestyle which, again, the sort of Great Reset, the system that is, can't stop you from doing. It's a way that you'll be able to provide for your family. It's a way to have a sort of career if you're into these types of things. That's sort of outside the matrix to a degree. And so the fact that we're going to watch some of these videos, for all of us, there's going to be takeaways, and we're going to find it interesting, and we'll have some humors and all this different stuff. But for some of you young men, for some of you guys, maybe you need to contact Dwayne. Maybe you need to go to Dry Creek Wrangler School and learn how to wrangle, learn how to break horses, learn how to ride horses, learn how to do a lot of those things that, again, the people who are paying you, It's not necessarily these major corporations. It's not Chase Bank. You're not going to be stuck with PayPal and all this stuff. And you're learning real sustainable skills. These skills, again, that he's going to refer to and the wisdom that he's going to talk about, this is stuff that if the grid goes down, that is useful for all of us. And it's sort of part of the reason why I like it is he's kind of like a grandfather figure that has a lot of skill sets that my dad didn't necessarily do, sort of cowboy lifestyle. So it's really interesting to hear him reflect on his life experience and different circumstances and stuff like that. So today I watched another video of his, and I just felt so moved to I just got to do it. And that's why this was a sort of last minute stream. I know Jay and Tristan are streaming at 8, so I'm not going to be here ranting much longer. I just we're going to do announcements and then jump right into some of these videos. But I just felt after I watched one of his clips or one of his videos today that I just needed to show you guys that some of people, again, it's not that popular. We only have 58 people here. This may not be a real popular topic for some, but if just like 5 of you guys or just a handful of guys out there that may be like, you know what, maybe I want to take him up on this. Maybe I want to learn, or maybe this leads into something in regards to your own life. I feel like, hey, I needed to do this. I needed to make this stream. It's going to be fun and relaxed. Again, I poured a little bit of a couple fingers of whiskey here, some little Woodford Reserve. And so I'm going to sip on my whiskey as we watch some of these clips with Dwayne from Dry Creek Wrangler School. So guys, smash that like. We're going to hit the announcements real quick, and then we're just going to watch some of these videos, and you're going to get a feel for exactly what it is that I'm talking about. So first announcement is shout out to everybody who's going to be in St. Augustine. Guys, this early Thursday morning, like 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be getting up, putting on my clothes, hitting in the car, going down to Florida. I'll be at St. Augustine, Florida from the 1st to the 6th, the first week of September, Labor Day weekend. Jay Dyer's event is in Orlando, September 3rd. September 3rd in Orlando. The cool kids are going to be over in St. Augustine, Florida, over by the beach. That's where I'll be staying. So really shout out to all the brothers and sisters. I'm really excited to meet everybody, not just in St. Augustine, but also at the Jay Dyer event, of which I will be speaking. So I will see everybody there. Really, really excited for that. I also want to make a real quick announcement. What was I doing today? Well, I was preparing for the next class in our Intro to World Religions, which is Native and Indigenous Traditions. So today I finished the vocabulary list, the glossary. So tomorrow I will be, either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'm going to do the public stream. As we've already done, we did the first lecture, which was on theories and introduction to the study of religion. The second half of that is up for members. Guys, make sure if you have your membership, go check out the second half of that. Tonight, I'll have Samsara and Baraka documentaries up for viewers there that are members for some of that private content. So I'll have both those documentaries up at the website by tonight for everybody. And then I'll be recording the second half of the Native Traditions, Indigenous Traditions. I may do that before I do the public version. So I may do the public version Wednesday, right before I leave for St. Augustine. It'll be the last thing, and I'll already have recorded the second half, so that would already be up at the website. So I think tomorrow may be an empty day, and then we'll do the first half, which will be Wednesday, which, again, I'll have that second half already recorded up for members. So that means, guys, make sure you get your memberships. If you want to support Church of the Eternal Logos and you like what I'm doing, use this link here. There's a $5 General Logos subscription membership. Gives you access to an exclusive video library, of which all these other courses and videos are there. We're going to be, again, moving through all the world religions. So if you want access to the Intro to World Religions content, make sure you sign up. If you want to join me and Thomas Henderson, for example, here in the chat, in our premium members group, which is twice every month, we basically get in a Zoom meeting and chit chat for 2 hours on whatever it is that we want to talk about amongst the premium members. If you want to join that conversation, then you can sign up for the $25 a month membership. Also, if anybody wants to sign up for a one-on-one session, you can do so with this link here. And if you'd like to sponsor a stream topic, you can do so with this link right here. Again, we have a very special stream coming. Shout out to our good brother Pim, who purchased a second stream. He purchased the Khazarian stream, and his second one is looking at familial curses, family curses, both in the Bible and within general history and pop culture. So I'm actually kind of excited to do the research for that one. I never even thought about that topic, but I thought it's a good one. So family curses is going to be a sponsored stream that I'll do sometime after I get back from Florida. Really excited to do that as well. So if you would like to sponsor a stream and you have a topic, make sure you use the link, the last link there shared. So, all right, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So what are we getting into? We're going to be listening to some Cowboy Wisdom by Dwayne from Dry Creek Wrangler School. So let me show you real quick before we get into, let me open up this. This is his YouTube page. And so I have that link posted in the video description to this stream. So inside the video description, I already have the link to his. Go subscribe, guys. If you're still skeptical, right now, don't do it. Now, am I jealous that his channel's grown so quickly over mine? Yeah, a little bit. But you know what? I still feel like this man's wisdom is worth promoting. So, again, feel free to grab his link. It is in the video description. Smash that like for everybody who's here. I would greatly, greatly appreciate that. Please smash that like if you haven't. And please super chat using the Streamlabs link. Shout out to the Genghis Khan. Already throws in $9.99. Thank you very, very much, brother. And so, also, if you guys want to, if you are more interested later on, you may want to go to his website here, Dry Creek Wrangler School, in regards to learning how to wrangle and deal with horses and whatnot. So that is that. Let's just get into one of his videos. So here's one right here. Let's just start right here. Okay. So what does he do each video? Usually he always has a cigar. So his big things are he has a cigar. Usually he'll tell you the make and the brand of his cigars that he smokes. But he has these, what he calls cigar videos, where he sort of just has a general topic, and he'll usually tell a story and sort of reflect on or philosophize on something. And so here's just an introduction to his cigar type videos. Again, if you go to his Wrangler School, like this is bedrolls in the backcountry, what to have in your truck. These are adding a new mount to the ranch, buying a new horse. So he has some very straightforward practical videos, but then he has some of these other videos that are very philosophical and reflective. So let's watch just one of these videos. So here's one right here. Again, just wait and see. Let's listen to what Dwayne has to say. You'll see, again, how he weaves these things in, and they're beautiful, wisdom, wise videos. So here's the first one. And I love, he starts every video, Dwayne, Dry Creek Wrangler School.
Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School, bringing you our first video from sunny Bandera, Texas. It's actually cooled down, had a couple thunderstorms come through, and now it's nice and cool this morning with a bit of a breeze blowing. And so we want to see if we can't make a video this morning. Several years ago, I was riding in Wyoming, and I had a couple of guests come in from Virginia, a couple of friends, a couple of fellas, and they wanted an all-day ride. So we saddled up a couple of horses, and I was riding a little 5-year-old Arab gelding named a gray named Smokey. And so we loaded up the 3 horses. They're out of Wapiti, and went up the road to a trailhead and took this trail way up the mountain. We went way above timberline up there, and there was a glacier bowl, an old glacier bowl, and you could go to the edge and look out just miles of country up there. And it was a good ride up, and way up on top, above timberline, there was a spring that bubbled around the rocks on top of that mountain and then wound its way back down the mountain. So we went up there and had a lunch and had some mountain goats come popping up over the rim of that deal and watched them come in and had a real good day. And so when it came time, we tacked up the horses and headed back down the mountain, me and these two fellas. And we'd been up there for a while. And, you know, if you've done some really long rides, you know how just the sun starts getting warm on your back and you kind of just doze off a little bit, or not doze, but just kind of get a little bit, start gathering wool and daydreaming. And so that's kind of how we got. We're coming down the trail, and so it's heavy woods come down to the trail, and right beside the trail was that spring from on top was running down. And then from there it went steep on down. And so we come to this place where there was an old abandoned beaver dam, which had kind of widened out that spring and turned it into a little bit of a shallow pool. Well, I'm about half asleep, and we're coming down that trail, and all of a sudden, Smokey bunched up underneath me. I felt him bunch up under the saddle. And, man, I came awake right away. I came up, set up, and because that horse had, you know, he wasn't a deadhead, and he'd kind of cut up with me before. And I felt him bunch up and plow to a stop. And he's looking, and right ahead of me, about 25 yards in that pool, there was a big old grizzly bear. And he was laying on his back like a kid in a bathtub, sitting there just splashing in that pool, just like a big old kid in a bathtub. Well, when my horse plowed to a stop, the two guys behind me, their horses plowed to a stop. One of them said, "What is it?" And I pointed that grizzly bear. And he's like, "What do we do?" And I said, "We don't do nothing. You just sit here and wait, and when he discovers we're here, we'll let him decide what's going to happen." We were in National Park. We were in the Absaroka Mountains outside of Yellowstone, but we were in National Park, and I wasn't allowed to carry a gun in that area. And I don't think it would have helped at that point. I'll explain that in a minute. But I said, we just wait. And so we sat there, and there was a strong wind blowing through the trees. He was underneath a big old spruce tree, and there was a strong breeze blowing up through the forest there, blowing from him to us. So he couldn't smell us, and with that wind, he couldn't hear us, and bears have really poor eyesight, so he couldn't see us. But by Ned, with that wind coming in, the horses could sure enough smell him, and they could see him, and they didn't like it. And they were starting to stomp around and snort and jiggle, and they wanted out of there. And in a little bit, something caught his attention, and he looked up and looked at us, and I mean, the only way to explain his movement was he exploded away. I mean, one minute he was there, and he looked up and he saw us, and next minute, all that was left was there was a big old bough on that spruce tree he was under, come back like that, and he was gone. If he had charged us, unless I had a gun out pointing at him, wouldn't have got it out in time. He was that fast. And so he was gone, but we had to go on down the rest of the trail, back down the trailhead to get the horse trailer. And we were an alert, thoughtful little trio from that point on. And, you know, I kind of learned from that not every situation in life is a situation that you can combat. Sometimes when you're facing a situation that's bigger than you are, that you can't do much about, sometimes the best thing to do is just stop, hush, be still, and see how it's going to play out. Sometimes if you let it play out, if I'd have gone charging to that bear, or I'd have pulled out a gun and tried to get all heroic on that bear, there's 17 things that could have gone wrong. But the situation was such, I was not allowed to carry a gun. I had guests with me. We were on a narrow trail. We were in a heavy forest. And the situation was such, it was bigger than I was. So the best thing to do was to stop, to eye the situation, and just patiently, quietly let it play itself out. And sometimes that's what we need to do. So this is Dwayne. Hope you enjoyed the story. Again, as always, if you like it, hit like. Feel free to comment. We do have a Patreon.
Okay, so that was a story again on waiting and finding yourself in certain circumstances. Now, here's another one on it's your life, it's your bronc, write it. And this is something that I really like. What he's talking about is basically the nature of what a rodeo is and how cowboys, when they go to a rodeo, they are looking for the wildest animal that bucks because that's part of the scoring system. And so they want the most aggressive, the most difficult ride because that's how they get the greatest score. And he talks about how the circumstances that we're all born into, whether it be your family's financial position, your potentially maybe the traditions or religions that you're wrapped up in, that we are all given a bronc. We're all given the thing to ride. Like when the cowboy goes to the rodeo, it's given to him. He doesn't get to choose what he rides. It's given to him, and that's kind of like life is. And as he talks about, if you start from a lowly, humble places, also remember that is the more violent bronc, that's the more violent ride, that's the higher score, that there's more honor, there's more integrity, that there's more prestige in making it and correcting one's life depending on where you come from, because we all don't come from the same places and none of us all get the same bronc when we go to a rodeo. So check out this story. Again, another one that I really, really love, and you'll see how these start coming back and becoming more about like life and stuff like that.
You ever watch much rodeo? You ever go to a rodeo, or maybe watch it on TV? Maybe you're back east somewhere in the city, but you get RFD TV on your cable, and so you watch some rodeos, and it's fun to watch. You don't maybe you don't understand how they score everything and how everything goes, but it's an interesting spectacle, especially the rough stud, whether riding bareback broncs or saddle broncs or bull riding. Partagas 1845 this morning. Got a couple things to celebrate. So those that know, we were expecting the fourth grandchild. Esther Michelle has been born, and her and Mama are both doing good. And as of this morning, as a recording of this, the channel hit 10,000 subs. I have no idea how that happened, but I thank you for it. When I started this channel, I thought, well, if I get 100 or 200 subs, maybe somebody out there get help. I never expected this. So this is all kudos to you. And I appreciate it. Humbly, gratefully appreciate it. So you're sitting there watching a rodeo, watching rough stock. Let's say bareback bronc riding. All right. The announcer says, shoot number one. And so all eyes go to shoot number one. And you can just see across the arena, you can just see the chute, you see the cowboy, you see him nod his head, the gate swings open, the horse comes out. You don't know everything about how it's supposed to be done, but it sure looks good. And so the horse jumps out of the chute, and he starts bucking across the arena. And to you, it looks pretty. The cowboy's in perfect time. He's in perfect balance. He's got his hand up in the air. He's got his hand in his rigging. He's spurring with every jump, and he's sitting in the middle, and it just looks perfect. Then the buzzer sounds at 8 seconds. He doesn't wait for the pickup man. He lets loose the rigging. He rolls off, lands on his feet, tips his hat to the crowd, and walks away. And you're like, man, that's beautiful. I mean, that's just pretty. And that's got to be a high score, and that looks like a master class in bronc riding right there. So you wait for the announcer to announce the score, and the score comes up, and the judges gives him a 70. Now, you don't know a whole lot, but you know a perfect score is 100, and to you, that looks so smooth and so pretty. I mean, he even landed on his feet. He should have got more than a 70, but oh well. We go to chute number 2. Horse comes out of the chute. The guy makes 2 jumps, and he's off. Chute number 3. Bronc comes out of the chute. The guy makes it to about 6 seconds, does the best he can. He's off. He hits the dirt. Chute number 4. You can see top of the cowboy hat. You can see the cowboy nod at the guys at the gate. The gate swings open. The horse comes out, and the horse starts bucking. Now you can see this guy's riding, but you compare it to the first guy, and it's not as smooth. It's not as pretty. Yeah, he marked him out. Yeah, he's spurring. Yeah, he's got his hand up in the air. But he's not as showy. And if there's a couple times it looks like he's in trouble, it looks like he's coming off a little bit to one side, looks like he's gonna come off. But he makes it to the buzzer. And he has spurred every jump. He's done what he's supposed to. He makes it to the buzzer. Pickup man rolls up on his horse. He reaches out, grabs pickup man, comes off the horse, hits the ground, trips and falls in the dirt flat on his face. But he gets up, brushes himself off, and limps out of the arena. You say, well, he made the 8 seconds. That's more than the other two did. But he wasn't near as smooth and pretty as the first guy, so he's not going to get the score. First guy got a 70. You wait for the announcer. The judges give this guy an 81. And you are like, 81? What in the world? It didn't look near as pretty, didn't look near as smooth, didn't look near as successful as the first guy. Well, there's some things you might want to learn and understand about riding rough stock in the rodeo. A perfect score is 100. Okay, that's the best they're going to get. But the best cowboy on his best day, making his best ride, only gets 50 points. That's the best he can do, 50 points. The other 50 points goes to the horse or the bull in bull riding. So here's the deal. The judges realized that the second horse bucked harder than the first horse. The first cowboy looked good. He looked smooth. He looked pretty. But his horse wasn't bucking as hard. Wasn't kicking as high. Wasn't sun fishing. Wasn't twisting. Didn't have a stutter step. He came out in perfect time and went straight across the arena. The other cowboy, his horse came out. He bucked harder. He twisted more. His timing was off. He was a harder horse to ride. In rodeo, like in life, there ain't no money in easy riding. There's no money in easy riding. A couple more things about riding in rodeo, riding rough stock. Cowboy doesn't get to choose his mount. You don't get to pick your bronc. When you show up and you pay your entry fees, they assign you who you're going to ride, and that's who you get. You ride whoever they assign to you. And I've got a son who rode rodeo some, and I've been back behind the chutes with him, and I guarantee the cowboys are not behind the chutes saying, oh, I hope I get that little paint over there. He's kind of a powder puff. He don't buck very hard. I know I can ride that one. I rode that one in another city last week. Doesn't work that way. They want the tough ones. They want the hard bucking ones. They want the big ones and the stout ones, because that's where the money is. That's where the glory is. There's no money in easy riding, and they don't get to pick their mounts. That's life. Son, that's life. We don't get to pick our bronc. Our bronc is our life, and we don't get to pick it. You don't get to pick. I didn't get to pick my physical attributes when I was born. We don't get to pick our family. We don't get to pick where we're born. We don't get to pick our circumstances. That's the bronc that is assigned to us. And we're expected to ride it. And you say, well, I came from a poor family. And I had an alcoholic abusive father. And I wasn't raised with this kind of teaching and this kind of training and this kind of understanding. And I was beat and abused when I was a kid. Yeah, you were assigned a bad bronc. So the glory is if you ride it. Listen, people who are born, stay with me here, all right? People who are born in a really good family, who are born with really good genetics, who were born financially secure, who are put automatically in a good school, whose parents pay for them to go to college, and they want a doctor or a lawyer or a politician. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with any of that, okay? That's not what I'm saying. All right. But we look at those folks and then we look at our life. You're born to poor parents who went to public school. Parents couldn't pay for you to go to college. You were born physically weak, or you had a handicap, or whatever. There's more glory in riding a bad bronc than there is a good bronc. And so what we have to do in life is we have to stop saying, I've got a bad bronc. Life ain't fair. I didn't get any of the good breaks. Life ain't fair. No, what we need to do is embrace the difficult ride that we've been given and know that's where the glory is. And it's also, you can look at it and you can take this metaphor, not just one bronc for life, but life is made up of a lot of broncs. A rodeo rider on the circuit, he rides broncs all the time. He'll ride, and maybe he'll ride more than one at one rodeo, and then he'll jump in his car and he'll tear off through the night and he'll do another one. Well, we all have our daily broncs to ride, and we don't get to pick them. They come to us, and some of them are hard, and they buck us off. And what do? Listen, when Cowboy gets bucked off in the arena, there's some things he cannot do. He can't lay there in the dirt and cry. He can't sit there and kick and pound his fist in the sand like a little child throwing a tantrum in the middle of mama's floor because he got bucked off, because he didn't get the horse that he wanted to ride. Of course he can't do that. He can't get up, fake a limp off like he's some kind of soccer player or these modern NBA players flopping all over the court pretending to be hurt. Now, he can't limp off and say, I'm not riding anymore, I quit. He ain't never going to be nothing if he does that. He gets up and he goes to the next bronc. I tell you what else he does. He studies and figures out what is it in his technique, what is it in his way that got him bucked off. The way he does things, his technique, there's a weakness somewhere. What is it with his riding that he keeps getting bucked off? And he goes and learns and studies it, and he improves it, and he gets better. And the next bronc comes, and he rides it to the buzzer. Look, we all get bucked off. There ain't none of us walk on water. None of us walk on water. None of us get through this life successful at everything we do. None of us get through without failing. You know, sometimes we can say, you know, that horse was just too much. I couldn't ride him. But sometimes we've got to say, you know, I wasn't a very good rider. I got myself bucked off. And you can't just lay there in the dirt. You get up and you brush yourself off and you figure out what you failed, what caused you to fail, and you get on the next bronc and you go. That's life. That's life. Now, I want to close with this. If you're constantly getting bucked off in life, seems like everything you do, your relationships, your jobs, everything you do, you're just constantly making a mess of things, then what you might want to do is study the life of the only man in history that made it from start to finish and never got bucked off. You might need to take riding lessons from the master. Okay? If that metaphor is a little bit deep, you might want to start looking at the Bible and look at the life of Christ. He never got bucked off, and maybe we can take riding lessons from him. But you're going to hit the dirt. You're going to hit the dirt. There's no money in easy riding. Life is not about easy riding. And if you sit in the safe place, in the easy place, in the secure place, and you watch the world go by, you won't get bucked off as much, but you won't have near the glory. We know who Abraham Lincoln is. We know who James Garfield is. We know who William Taft is. William Taft and Garfield are two of our presidents. Abraham Lincoln was a president. Abraham Lincoln is a legend. Taft is not. Garfield is not. All three were presidents. What's the difference? Abraham Lincoln grew up dirt poor, taught himself to read. You should read his life on how many times in life he failed at business, how many times he failed in his election bid into the Senate, how many times he failed as a lawyer. He finally gets into the presidency, leads this country through the American Civil War, and dies with a bullet in the back of the head. You think you got a tough bronc to ride? But how many cities, how many towns, how many counties, how many courthouses, how many streets, how many lakes are named Lincoln? How many statues? How many memorials? How many books? How many movies? Man had a tough bronc to ride, and he wrote it. And he wrote it, and he got the glory. There's no money in easy riding.
All right. So, again, he's got so many good videos here that I want to share with you guys. So here's one on the donkey, the story about the donkey, right? Again, we still got multiple more videos to dive into here, so I hope everybody's enjoying themselves. Smash that like, guys. Again, what we're doing, go subscribe to Dry Creek Wrangler School. Dry Creek Wrangler School. What we're doing tonight is listening to the old cowboy Dwayne, who has recently started a channel about a year ago, and basically it is him trying to provide life wisdom and lessons on horse husbandry, on cowboying, on wrangling, on packing, on all types of stuff. So go check out his channel. Again, Dry Creek Wrangler School. But what I've kind of focused on for tonight's stream is his life advice, where basically he tells stories, and from the story there's so much meaning in regards to how it can relate to other aspects of your life. So I love, and that's why I've done this stream, is I've really fallen in love with his channel, and how how useful his stories are and his description of his life, because of the reality of animals, the reality of dealing with horses, the reality of being a cowboy, the reality of being out there in the wilderness is part of why it's so true, right? Christ taught in allegorical stories. He taught in parables, and it's because in the parables were, again, about sort of like lived reality, but because of them about the world and about reality, the truth resonates on multiple levels. And I think it's so interesting that, Dwayne, he didn't go to university. Now, he is a reader, and I have a video on his reading list in his own library. Now, he loves reading and he loves poetry, but it's not like he went to classical university or did anything. He's lived a life as a cowboy. And it's because of his experiences that he then has all this wisdom that we as Orthodox Christians, we as Christians generally speak, can definitely appreciate. Now, some of his videos, he has a couple where you can tell, I'm sure he knows nothing about Orthodox theology. So if I see anybody talking about, he said something about Jesus and is he Orthodox? Like, stop. Like, he's not Orthodox. He's Christian, clearly, but he's been very disillusioned with the churches, and he lives out in the wilderness. And so he's always moving to different jobs, different parts of the country, whether he's in the Mountain West or down south in Tennessee. So yeah, he's not Orthodox. We're not watching this for Orthodox theology. What we're watching this for is a man who's now reflective and very honest, because he's worried about the world that his grandkids are going to grow up in. And he started this channel to basically teach people how to live the life that he lives, because he sees, and we're going to watch the video on preserving the old ways, that's really the point of everything and why he does what he does. And so I've just selected a few of these videos that highlight how he then talks about his life, but then that truth, that reality of his lived experience is useful for all of us. So here's another one on donkeys. Check this one out.
Going to record one more video here in Caldwell, Idaho, before Mom and I start heading back to the land of heat and humidity. On channel, probably the single most watched, most popular video I've done is on the difference between horses and mules. So in light of that, this video this morning, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a donkey story. All right. Got a Partagas Black Label 6x60 going on this morning. Got a good burn. It's burning good. It's a nice cigar. It's, as those who are regular on the channel, you know, the Partagas Black Label is about my favorite cigar, along with the Charter Oak Connecticut Shade. It's a little darker, a little richer than what I normally do of a morning, but I was in the mood for something a bit more robust. So there's a little boy walking down the road. It's a back gravel country road. In the summertime, the sun's beating down. It's hot. Boy's barefoot. Got a pair of overalls on. He's about 10, 12 years old. And he's heading down the road to his grandpa's house. Grandpa had told him he wanted him to come down and help hoe out the garden. So he's heading down there, and he's got his hands in his pockets, and he's shuffling along, and he's just daydreaming and wool gathering and just going along thinking his thoughts. And all of a sudden he hears this sound that startles him. And this sound it's loud and it's coarse. It's not melodic. It's not pleasant. It's just kind of raucous and just startling. So he wakes up and he looks around, and there on the side of the road, in a pasture with his head hanging over the fence, is a big old long-lipped, slab-sided, ribby, big-eared donkey looking at him. And as the boy sits there and looks at that donkey opens his big old mouth and just brays again. And that sound just echoes across the hills. And so the boy looks at him and realizes what it is and turns around and heads on down the road. Now, he doesn't go over there and try to make that donkey stop braying. It's a donkey's nature. That's what they do. It's natural. He didn't stand there and put his hands on his hips and yell at that donkey for braying. He didn't explain to all the reasons why that donkey was disturbing the nice, quiet, sunshiny day, and why he wasn't saying anything important, and why he was just making racket. And he sure did not go over and grab that donkey by the ears and bray back at him. He had someplace he was going, and he had something he was doing that was far more important than the empty noise coming from the mouth of that long-eared, slab-sided donkey. Now, as you go through life, headed down your road to your destination to do your job, you're always going to have some donkey standing off to the side with their head hanging over the fence, braying at you. Don't get upset about it. Don't try to make them stop. It's their nature. Don't go over there and reprimand them and tell them why they shouldn't be behaving that way. And you sure don't want to go over there and bray back at them. Go down the road and go about your business. And always keep this in mind. Braying is what jackasses do. Leave the braying to the jackasses. And you go help Grandpa hoe out his corn. All right? This is Dwayne, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Don't bray back at the donkeys. So another great video, right? So so here's the next one I got for you guys is Cowboy Up. This is for all the young men out there. This video is directly for all the young guys out there. And so we're going to listen to Dwayne's advice for them. Here we go.
Good morning. Several weeks ago, we were down at the barn and pulling horses to saddle, and Mama was down there helping us. And so we'd pulled a horse out for her, nice little horse called Bitz, B-I-T-Z. And so Mama was going to ride that horse. So she brought that horse out to brush him and to saddle him and to get him ready. Now, a couple.
Guys, make sure, again, you go subscribe to Dry Creek Wrangler School. Listen to all the videos of Dwayne and all his wisdom. And also, guys, support the stream using the Super Chat, using the Streamlabs link if you could. Or if you prefer to use YouTube, that is fine as well. Feel free to Super Chat, and I'll get to those at the end of the stream. Make sure you smash that like.
Those of you who've been following the channel for several years, you know that Mama has, we've been together, married for 30 years, and we had 7 children. So over the last 30 years and all of our horse work and moving and everything, most of her time was spent either pregnant or raising babies. And so she has not had the opportunity over the years to do a lot of horse work, nothing like what she wanted. So now that the children are gone, she's learning. So in a lot of ways, she's kind of a beginner. But anyhow, we brought this horse out, and she went to tie this horse up to the hitching post, and he pulled back all of a sudden. He doesn't normally do that, but something spooked him, and he pulled back. Well, the way she had the lead rope, he ran that lead rope all the way through her hands and blistered both hands. I mean, several blisters on both hands. And I'm not talking just red and ow. I'm talking they raised water blisters. And, I mean, it was serious. It hurt her pretty bad. And so she told me later she just wanted to come home. I mean, it scared her. Rightfully so, absolutely rightfully so. And it was extremely painful, and she just wanted to come home. So I told her, I said, listen, you don't have to ride, and if you want to go home and put some stuff on that and do what you need to do, I'll put the horse up for you. It's okay. And she said, no, I don't want to quit. I want to ride. And I said, all right, well, just sit down there or go put some salve on him and I'll saddle your horse. And she said, no, I'll saddle my own horse. And so she, with those blisters, raw and open on her hands, she saddled that horse and bitted that horse up and rode that horse. And when we got back from the ride, we got back, she stopped, got off her horse, went to tie the horse up, and I said, if you want, you go on and I'll unsaddle your horse and put it away. And she said, no, I want to do it. And so she untacked that horse and unsaddled that horse and took the saddle in and put it up in saddle stand. And then went and doctored her hands. And she doctored those hands for several days around here. She told me later, she found out something about herself. She found a strength in her, a depth in her that she didn't know she had. Folks, that's what you call cowboy up. There's not enough cowboy up these days. We get young folk, we got a young, I say young, he's old enough to know better, come in here to ride, comes in here wanting to be a cowboy, wanting everybody to call him a cowboy. We go out, comes in one day, goes out on like 3 rides, and a ride is 1 hour at a walk, and comes back, says, can I set the next one out? My butt hurts. Cowboy up. Listen, you cannot get through life if you can't, and I'm not talking, I know a lot of my cigar videos are metaphorical and philosophical. This isn't. I'm talking physical. The military calls it embrace the suck. And if you're going to make it in life at work, doesn't matter what type of work you do, but especially cowboying, or if you have horses, pleasure riding, personal horses, you've got to learn to cowboy up. You've got to toughen up. You have to embrace the suck. I was riding for an outfit in North Carolina, and I had just been on, like I was there 3 days, I don't know. And we were saddling 40 horses one morning. And I saddled this little Palomino, and I went to put the bridle on her, and a little warning bell went off in the back of my head because I've been at this long enough. But we were in a hurry, and I ignored that warning bell. And I started to reach up and untie her lead rope and then put the bit in her mouth, and I didn't do it. So that's on me. That's my fault. But so she was tied up, and I went to put the bit in her mouth, and she pulled back. And she swung around. She pulled back, and then she swung around sideways and slammed me into the concrete wall. Had a concrete half wall there, and she slammed me into that. I found out later from the doctor she broke 3 of my ribs. But I didn't know that at the time. But knocked all the wind out of me. I literally hit the ground on my hands and knees and crawled out of the barn trying to catch my breath. I sat there for a minute and then got up, hobbled into the office to try to find some Advil or Tylenol or something. All they had was Bear aspirin. I took 5 Bear aspirin, came back out. I was riding a little 2-year-old filly. I was in the process of breaking this little filly. But she was a gentle little sweetheart. And so I hobbled up to her and stood there for a second. And I said, Chica, baby doll, take care of me today. Take care of me today. And I pulled myself up in the saddle of her, and she just stood there quiet. And I took a 4-hour ride with 3 broken ribs. I came back at the end of 4 hours, half climbed off, half fell off my horse, went back in the office, got 5 more aspirin, come back out, got back on my horse, and took the next 2-hour ride out. Cowboy up. Listen, a lot of times in life, if you're like me, I'm not smart, okay? I have no head for numbers. I have no head for science. I don't have a head for business. I don't have that going for me. Don't have any money. Don't have that going for me. I don't have the gift of being a salesman and can go out there and do this. Sometimes all I got is just cowboy up, just grit and go through. And if you're going to go into life, physically, you need a cowboy. Listen, okay, I'm not being crude, but nobody cares if your butt hurts. Nobody cares. Okay? If you're cold, if you're working and they're all in the same temperature, they're in the same wind, they're in the same rain, they're riding as many hours as you are, nobody cares. And you're going to get in your mind, you're going to have the discomfort and the misery is going to get in your mind, and you're going to be unhappy. And it's going to consume you. And so just say, hey, you know what? Here I am, saddling up at 4:30 in the morning. I've got 8 or 10 hours ahead of me in the saddle. And I'm going to come back, and I'm going to unsaddle in the dark. And I'm going to be sore, and I'm going to be tired, and I'm going to be hurting. And I'm going to be proud of it. Because there ain't just everybody out there that can say this. There ain't just everybody out there that can take a slam and can take a beating and keep going. I mean, as you know, I've said before, I got plates and screws holding my neck together. Got arthritis in my knees. My hands are hurting anymore. But I keep riding. Hour after hour after hour, day after day after day. Why? That's what I got. That's what I got. And sometimes that's what you need. So wherever you're finding yourself, whatever level of discomfort you're finding yourself in, look, just toughen up. Just toughen up, okay? We have a country full of weaklings. We have a world full of weaklings. And nobody needs a weakling. Make yourself someone that this world needs. Someone that the job needs. Someone that your employer needs. Someone that your boss needs. Someone that your wife needs. Or your husband needs. And they don't need a whiner. And they don't need a weakling. All right? So, just for those guys who didn't hear a word I say because you've been looking at the cigar wondering what it is, I've got, from the cigar videos I did, I've had several guys, gals, whoever, get on and say, what is your absolute favorite cigar? Partagas Black Label 6x60. Hands down, my favorite across the board. And nice, strong, rich. Is there a downside? Sometimes with these, I have more trouble with uneven burning than I do with some of the others. Not all the time, but it happens. But the flavor makes it worthwhile. And so these are ones I try to always keep on hand. So anyhow, a little extra there. We are getting ready to pull out of here Thursday morning. So today is Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School, back down in Caldwell.
Guys, smash that like, send in the super chats, and make sure you go subscribe to Dry Creek Wrangler School. Dry Creek Wrangler School. Go give Dwayne a subscription.
After a week on the mountain with my boys, it's August 7th. We just got back down here yesterday and been trying to catching stuff up, and had a real good visit up there. Had my three sons and I, we met at the Salmon River Lodge, way up north of Salmon. And my son is a packer outfitter up there for the Salmon River Lodge, and so they graciously allowed us to take enough animals, pack animals and horses, and go up on the mountains, and we did some trail clearing for them and camped out up there and had a grand time. And so now we're back out. Jesse, he's the one that works up there. His GPS said we did 36 miles total up there, and we went from, I think, about 4,000 feet altitude where the lodge was, and we climbed up to over 8,000 feet. Camped out. Our main camp was at 7,800 feet on a little mountain lake, tucked back up in there, and it was a grand time. Picked this up today. You guys are going to be asking. It's my first one of these. It's a Padron 4000 series. So far, I mean, I just got it lit, but I'm liking it pretty good. I want to talk to you about something.
This was actually the, I think this was the first video that I saw of his. And so this is the video that got me hooked. I watched this video here on A Balanced and Complete Life. And I think he has, and so guys, he talks about the Trinity of man and stuff like that. Yeah, he's not talking about the nous, okay? But he's talking about the spirit. He's talking about noetic fact. So you can see it's interesting. It seems like he's on the right path. But yeah, he's not orthodox. So nobody needs to make an exegesis on his theology, because he does kind of get into it a little bit towards the end there. But here we go. And by the way, I'm going to go add another finger or two to my whiskey, so I'll be right back.
A little bit different, okay? Now, let me say before I begin, there's a little bit of points. I'm going to reference a couple things in the Bible, just a couple verses. Now, I know some folks get a little squeamish and they kind of tighten up about that, but let me ask you before we begin to just hold on and listen to me. I'm not going to be preaching at you, all right? That's not what this is, but there's a very interesting concept and a thought that I think you might find interesting. I just want you to hear me out and chew on it and think about it, okay? There's a verse of scripture in the book of Genesis. Now just hear me and take it for what it's worth, okay? When God is creating man, he says, let us make man in our image. Now it speaks in the plural there. God, there's one God, says, let us make man in our image. And he speaks in the plural. So I believe that when God made man in his image, that means God is a Trinity, and he made man a Trinity too. What does this have to do with anything? Just trust me. If you watch any of my videos, just trust me. It's going to be interesting, okay? And I'm not going to be hammering on you. I think man, and when I speak throughout this video of man, this applies to women. This is humankind, okay? We're a Trinity. We're made up of three parts: body, soul, and spirit. And a lot of times, many times, when our life gets out of balance, when we feel out of balance, when we feel incomplete, it's because we've ignored a third of ourself or 2/3 of ourself. And we aren't complete in our Trinity. Now, what does that mean? Let me illustrate it like this. Our second night up there, our first night up on the mountain, we traveled, for the first day, we traveled several hours and went way up to a camp, a nice camp, called Fern Creek. And we camped out at Fern Creek. It was a long trip up. We went way up there. Got up next morning, had a nice leisurely breakfast, had like 3 pots of coffee between the 4 of us, and just sat around and had a good time. Then we packed everything up, packed all the mannies up, and packed all the mules and horses, and we had 11 animals between the 4 of us. And we went up to a place called, I think it's Basin Lake. So we got to Basin Lake, and we got there, and we rolled into camp, little lake there up in the trees, beautiful spot. So when we rolled in, we unpacked all the packs, undid the saddles and took them off, and led all the mules and horses down to the little mountain lake there to drink, and came in and took them and secured them, put them up, set our camp up, and built a fire and made supper, and sat around, had coffee. The boys all smoked pipes, and I had a good cigar. Rolled out our bedrolls and went to bed. Now, I lay there in my bedroll, looking up, straight up through the trees at the stars. And for a moment there, well, for the evening, all 3 of my boxes were checked. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, physically, the body, that's how you relate to yourself. So I had physically worked. We had gathered up the horses. We had packed the horses. We gathered up camp. We had ridden for several miles through the trees, had worked, had had a good day, had had a good supper, had had coffee, had a good cigar. And I was just physically complete. It was a good day. It was a good day for a man to say, I accomplished something today that not every man can do or will ever do. And then I lay there on my back, and I look straight up, and I'm surrounded by straight, tall pine trees going straight up, pointing to the night sky. And I hear the sound just sighing softly through the pine trees, and I can hear the fire back behind me over there just kind of still crackling and popping, and the murmur of my sons back there just talking amongst themselves while they're getting their bedrolls and everything ready. And then as I lay there, I watched the stars come out, and there's no light pollution up there. So the sky was clear, and it was just brilliant and bright. And it was just the beauty of everything just fed my soul. I mean, just to be up there, it just fed my soul. And then I lay there, and I got to thinking, God has really given me a lot. I mean, he has really blessed. And so as I looked up at the stars, and I looked at the beauty, and I listened to the wind sighing through the trees, I just lay there and thanked God. I thanked him for 3 tall, strong sons who were men, but who were honest, who are hardworking, who are contributing to society, men that I'm proud of. I thanked him. I lay there and I thought about it, and I thanked him for my 4 beautiful daughters. They're beautiful, they're smart, they're sweet. How often do you find 4 daughters these days that are successful and sweet and smart and beautiful? And then I thought of my wife of 31 years back home holding the fort down, as she's done for so many years, that helped add to all that special, what was needed in raising these kids, and my health and the life that God has given me. And so in that moment, physically, my body, my soul, and my spirit was just all complete. I mean, I felt like a balanced, whole man. A lot of times we go through life, and Some people, they ignore the physical. They ignore the physical. Some men, some young men these days, they spend their life sitting on the couch, playing video games, scrolling on their phone. They don't know what it is to go out and work and to cut firewood, to be able to change a tire, to be able to go out and sweat, to be able to fix a leaky roof, to mow the yard, to go hunting, to go fishing, to be able to just go out and do something. And ladies these days, they don't know how to do that either. And I'm not doing the whole gender thing. You got to do one or the other. But to be able to cook a really good complete meal, to be able to hunt, ladies, to be able to plant a garden, to be able to raise flowers, to be able to physically do it, we're not complete, and we feel squishy, we feel soggy, we feel blobby, we feel like those people on that spaceship in that cartoon Wall-E. Just somebody does everything for us. And if the whole world were to fall apart, people would be helpless. They can't do anything for themselves. They're not complete physically. The soul is how you react to the world around you. That's where art comes in. Listen, I'm going to speak back to the guys. Guys, read some poetry. Listen to some classical music. Check out some paintings. There's more to life than work and beer and women. There is, okay? There's a beauty out there that feeds your soul. And if we don't touch, if we don't plug into the soul, and we don't plug into the beauty of what's out there, then we're just a lug. You know, we're a drone. We're plowing through the dirt, and we're not looking up at the sky above us. We don't stop and listen to the cicadas in the trees. We don't watch the butterflies that are around. It don't make you a sissy. All right? I don't think there's anybody out there that knows me that would consider me to be a sissy. All right? But I remember one time I had about a 3-day layover in Sydney, Australia. Jesse was with me at the time. And I went to their big museum of art there in Sydney, Australia. And I saw a painting. This is what I'm talking about, okay? I saw a painting on the wall, and it just stopped me in my tracks. And there's no reason why it should have. And I went back, and I looked at it, and I just was mesmerized by it. And I remember it to this day, and that's been years and years ago. And the painting is not some world-famous Mona Lisa or something like that. I think it was called A Widower and His Daughter. And it was just a very masculine-looking man in full Victorian, it was back in the Victorian area, with a little girl that he was doting on. It was just him and that little girl, and it was a widower and his daughter, I think's the name of the painting. But it just reached down inside and grabbed me. When was the last time a song or a painting or a poem or something you saw in nature just reached down and plucked the string of your soul? You need that. You need that. And it's a big thing today to deny the spiritual. All right? But if we don't understand that there's something bigger, something greater, something wiser than we are, something beyond us, then there's a whole chunk of our soul that will never be complete. We need some thankfulness in our life, and we need humility in our life. And you will not get gratitude and humility except from something that's bigger and greater than you are. In the Bible again, God calls David. You remember, if you've had any Sunday school at all, you remember David and Goliath? David grows up to become the king of Israel. David wrote the book of Psalms, which is a book full of just poetry and music. He's the only man in Scripture that God called a man after my own heart. Now think about that. David wasn't a perfect man. He committed some pretty bad sins, okay? He did some pretty bad stuff, and he repented of it, and God forgave him. But he's the only man in Scripture. Now, there's other men God called. He called Moses his friend. But David, he said, that's a man after my own heart. David was a great warrior. He was very renowned in battle. He was also a man who played musical instruments and wrote poetry and wrote great, beautiful songs and painted pictures with words. But he was a man who worshiped God, from the very core of his being. He was the man in Scripture who was most in touch with all three parts, his Trinity that God had created, body, soul, and spirit. We have a very unbalanced world today, full of imbalanced people. So it's a concept I know that maybe might be new to some of you, but just sit down and take thought sometimes. And you feel like there's a big hole in your life. You feel like you're not getting, and I don't mean getting as in money and jobs and stuff, but you're not achieving what you were intended to achieve. You may be only a third of a person. You may be only 2/3 of a person. There may be an entire swath of you that you've never considered, that you have abandoned, and that you have left off. Religious people do the same thing. All right? Religious people who have no sense of soul, who have no sense of the physical. That's where you get these fat, loud, out-of-shape religious people who, if they thought they could get away with it legally, would burn you at the stake because you don't believe what they believe. They're just as guilty. They're only a third of a person. They are not in touch with the beauty that God has created, and they're not in touch with the physical man that God created, or woman that he intends them to be. If we get out of balance in any area, we can become a very ugly, unhappy, misshapen soul. All right? So this week on the mountain was a trip of a lifetime for me. It was a great trip. And there was a moment in time up there where I felt that I had reached that point where I was in balance. My body was tired and satisfied and happy. My soul was full to overflowing with the beauty and the joy that was around me. And all I could do was turn around and humbly give thanks and gratitude to the God who had made it all possible. So, just want to give you something to think about. I hope it helps you. If you'll just do me a favor, click like, if anything, on this video if you like it. Now, don't lie. If you don't like it, don't click like. Click that share button and send it to somebody if you think of somebody that this might encourage a little bit and help.
All right. Good stuff, right? Everybody enjoying? Here's a few good ones. I wanted to preserving the old ways or meeting good people. Which one we go with? Preserving the old ways or meeting good people? Well, next one. Somebody say it in the chat. We also got his reading recommendations, Brotherhood of the Leaf, a philosophical discussion on ignorance. This is actually a good video right here, too. I actually want to play this one, philosophical discussion on ignorance. So you guys tell me which one out of those topics. Meeting good people is the first one I see. Old ways is Dr. Crispy Johnson. Who's going to break the tie? We got one for the good, one for preserving the old ways. Somebody break the tie. Okay, meeting good people is it. Oh, it looks like old ways wins out. We're going to watch both of them. We'll go with preserving the old ways first, then we'll go with meeting good people.
I actually have the day off today. So I'm going to make a video this morning before Mom and I head into town. I've got two different styles of videos I've noticed. This is how it's naturally rolling out. I have videos that come out, instructional videos like the one I just did on fixing fence, or the one on oiling in your saddle, or communicating with your horse. And then I have what Mom and I call cigar videos, and they're more just thoughts of the heart and philosophies and stuff. And this is a cigar video today. So now have the cigar fired up. The weather was kind of rough this morning. I'm gonna go out in a little bit. And Brick House Maduro Mighty Mighty for any cigar smokers. I don't have the palate to say it's got a hint of raisin and cinnamon and espresso chocolate and maybe a touch of pumpkin spice or what. The best way I can describe this, if you like really strong, hot, boiled Cowboy coffee and you want that type of essence in a cigar, in a good hand-rolled cigar, but without a high price, these Brick House Maduros, that's what they get. This is not a cigar for a beginner, okay? One of the reasons I started this channel was for my grandkids. My oldest daughter is expecting, she's about 8 months along with her third child, which is my wife and I's fourth grandchild. And to be completely honest, I'm a little bit unsettled about the world they're going to grow up in. Now, my kids have all come up good. One thing Deanna and I are really proud out of is our kids. So these grandbabies are going to have good parents. But they're not coming up in a good world. A lot of the old ways, a lot of the old values, a lot of the old stuff it's going away. And I want to leave a legacy behind. Now, I'm not talking about behind here soon. I expect, I'm looking for another good 20 years. But I don't want to pass through this world and leave and have nothing to show for it. I want my kids to be able to set them down and say, hey, put that Baby Shark song away, put that thing away and listen to your grandpa. He's got something to say. And then I got to thinking, you know, there's a lot of people out there who just haven't been taught. They haven't been raised. They haven't been helped. And they just, sometimes people just need a little bit of help and a little encouragement. And let me give you a thought here, okay? Not everybody that picks up a Bible and sticks it under their arm and walks into a church is a Christian. Not everybody that puts on a badge and a gun and climbs into a patrol car is a law enforcement officer. And not everybody that puts on a hat and a pair of boots and climbs up on a horse is a cowboy. Now, vice versa, there are people out there right now, for whatever reason, who do not go in a church, but they are Christians. What is the difference? The difference is the condition of the heart and soul. There are men who will put on a badge and a gun and climb in a patrol car, but they do not have the heart and soul to protect and serve. That's the difference between a good cop and a bad cop, is the heart, not the training. Politicians don't know anything. They're stupid, all right? They're so self-absorbed, they have no clue what, the training isn't the problem. The problem is the heart. And because a guy puts on a hat and a pair of boots and gets on a horse, if his heart isn't right, if his focus isn't right, if his view isn't right, don't call him a cowboy. And so as we go along, we should be aware of the legacy we're leaving behind us. You say, Dwayne, I don't have grandkids. I don't have kids. No, but you've got somebody around you. You've got somebody around you that you can say, hey, son, there's a better way to do that. Hey, son, if you want respect, you've got to be respectful. And, you know, sometimes that's all it takes. Sometimes people that they're just, as kids, they're not taught that and they're not told that. And so there's a song. You ever had a song that just, for a period in your life, that just totally sums up who you are? It's like they wrote that song for you. Well, Don Edwards, if you know who Don Edwards is, has a song he sings called The Coyote. Now, he's not the only one that sings it. I know Dave Stamey sings it, but I like Don Edwards. I like his version of it. You ought to look that song up on YouTube, The Coyote by Don Edwards. That song sums up me and where I am and my heart, these videos. The song is about an old cowboy in South Texas, and the world has gone off and left him. It's changed to the point he doesn't fit in. He doesn't like it. Everything that he knows of value, everything he knows in his life is gone, and it's all modern. It's automobiles and highways and steel buildings, and there's nothing left but the coyote. And he just kind of identifies with the old coyote. And one thing I've noticed about this channel, there's a lot of us out there. I think there's more of us out there than we realized that still respect the old ways, and we feel lost and left in this new world. So what do we do about it? Number one, regardless of what Washington says or the state says or society says, we be true to ourselves and to our standards. We be true to who we are. And number two, we actively, instead of going through life isolated and concerned about ourselves, we reach out to those around us who are open to it and who we can, and we help them. We help them learn, we help them grow, we help them improve, we bring them along with us. Maybe like I talked about earlier in another video, we can go through this life and make it a better place for us having been here. The old-fashioned values do not have to die out with us. It will only die out with us if we don't pass them on. We have the values that we have today because somebody cared to pass them on to us. And sometimes they were kind of scratchy and grouchy and barbed about it, but they got it through and they got it done. And we live in such a soft society today that we don't want to be scratchy. We don't want to be barbed. We don't want to be whatever it takes to get it done. But son, you've got to hear this. You've got to know this. And that's the only way that we're going to keep the old ways and the values from dying out with us, is if we care enough to step up and do what it takes and pass it on while being true to ourselves. Now, I'm not on this deal. I don't touch on I don't go into politics a lot. I don't go on to society a lot, but I don't have to. You know what I'm talking about without me even saying it. I don't care what society says is right today. I don't care what society says is acceptable today. You know in your heart what's right and what's not. You stay true to yourself and you pass on those values to somebody else. And maybe when we leave the scene, we'll leave something good and honest and true behind us. All right? So this is Dwayne, and I appreciate you sitting there patiently and listening to me just kind of pour my heart out to you today. If this channel, if this video, if you can think of somebody this might help, share, if you would, send it to them.
Okay, the next one, meeting good people. This is a story I love. I love this story. So check this out.
Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School, sitting out here next to the campfire at my buddy Ton's house. And got me a Charter Oak Maduro, and just enjoying the evening. Several years ago, I was wrangling out of COTEL, Wyoming, up the North Fork of the Shoshone River, up at a place called Wapiti. I was working at the Absaroka Mountain Lodge. It was the kind of place where people would come in and stay for a week, and then they could horseback ride and eat and do all sorts of things. So you could really get to know the guest really well. That first day of the new batch of guests come in, we had a ride we did of a morning where we took everybody out. And so I would take the guest and go one way out on this trail, and the other wrangler, he would go to the left and go the other way, and he would set up and cook a campfire breakfast. He'd pack a mule and take up there with Dutch ovens and cast iron skillets, and he would have scrambled eggs and bacon and homemade biscuits and everything waiting for him. And then I would take him the big loop around, and we would come back and to where he was and eat breakfast, and then come the rest of the way in. So we had a number of people on that ride, different groups. And when we got done, there was a couple on that ride. They were an older couple. And they were from Great Britain. They were from England. And it was a man and a wife. They were in their 60s, and they both were secretaries in the Prime Minister's office. So when we got back, I took, later on in the day, we went out, and then when they came back, they asked the owner, they said, for the rest of the week that we're here, can we have Dwayne as our wrangler? And it was kind of one of those deals, if it was within reason, you got whatever you asked for. You were paying for it, and the boss said, sure. And so I spent the week taking this couple just on rides all over the country, just the three of us. And they were a hoot. She was a little bitty woman, little short woman she had bad knees. And he was a long, tall, lanky, very droll, dry, typical what you'd figure an English gentleman would be. Just a wonderful couple, and she was a little spitfire. So we'd go on rides, and I lied like a trooper. I told Wendy's and I told stories, and we just had a ball. We would come back to the barn. She couldn't get off a horse because she had bad knees. And I was a young man. I was about 26, and so I'd walk up beside her horse, and I'd look up at her, and I'd say, is he looking? And she'd try and look over her shoulder at her husband sitting patiently on his horse, and she'd say, he don't see nothing. And so I'd reach up and put my arm around her waist and pick her up and set her down off her horse, and we just had a grand time. And as they got ready to leave at the end of that week, on the last ride, they said, Dwayne, we've had just a great time. We want you to recommend 2 pieces of American culture for us. We recommend music and a book that we can take back to England. And I said, well, for music, I said, you need to get a CD by Charlie Daniels called Simple Man. And I said, for a book, get Hondo by Louis L'Amour and take those 2 back. They said, okay, and they did. And they left and went back to England. And a few weeks later, I got a small box from them from England. And in it, there was a book, a paperback book. And I guess there was a series of novels called, like Father Gadfell, Father Gad. It was about a monk in the Middle Ages who was an amateur sleuth who solved mysteries. And it was a popular series of books back then. That book was one of those books was in the box, and there was a letter. And she said, Dwayne, I write this just wanting you to know that we got the book Hondo, and we absolutely loved it. And we went to the opera tonight. And as we left the opera on the way back home in our Mercedes, we listened to Charlie Daniels' Simple Man. And I have to tell you that we enjoyed the CD of Charlie Daniels much more than we enjoyed the opera. And I'll never forget that, and it brings to home the point that I've made before when it comes to this wrangling. It's about people. It's about relationships. And you can meet some of the finest people you'll ever want to meet. They're there to be met. Just meet them halfway. Just meet them. And when you meet the ones on the other side, the ones who are not a pleasure, the nice ones, the secretaries in the Prime Minister's office from England who are listening to Charlie Daniels' Simple Man on the way home from the opera, they'll make all the others worthwhile. This is Dwayne, Dry Creek Wrangler School, and hope you enjoyed it. Dwayne here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. Been getting things done around here today, but we have kind of shut down for the day. We've got another big storm coming in, and there's not a whole lot we can do at the moment. It's just been raining and raining, and everything's soggy and wet, so we're working in the barn and getting done what we can and getting stuff caught up with the horses, but now we're shortly, when the storm gets here, we're going to be done for the evening. So I wanted to go ahead and make a video. I've had a subject on my mind. I haven't done a philosophy video in a while, a cigar talk, and so I want to do that, and want to talk about a subject that's been running through my mind lately. While I'm doing that, I'm going to do a different cigar. It actually, if you haven't had these before, there's a good chance it's a different type of cigar than what you're used to. Drew Estates puts out a cigar called a Kentucky Fire Cured. MUWAT, M-U-W-A-T, which stands for My Uzi Weighs a Ton. I have no idea where that came from. Drew Estate has these Kentucky Fire Cured. Now, most cigar tobaccos are air cured. But there has been a method of curing tobacco that's been around in Kentucky and Virginia and Tennessee for over 200 years. And it's fire cured. There's old barns, and the tobacco leaves are hung in the old barns, and the barns are closed up, and they build a smoldering fire, a really smoky fire on the ground underneath, and the smoke cures the leaves, and then that's used, and so the leaves take on that flavor. So these Kentucky Fire Cured are the filler. They use Nicaraguan filler along with these Kentucky Fire Cured leaves fillers with a San Andreas wrapper, and it's extremely unique. It's not an infused cigar. It's not a sweet cigar. It's not a flavored cigar. It just has a lot different southern smoky flavor to it, and I like them. I really like them, and so I'm gonna have one of those today. If you are a pipe tobacco, if you smoke a pipe and you've had like H.H. McBaron dark fired Kentucky, and you like that, or something similar to that, maybe cobblestone, what is it, cobblestone brickyard, and some of those dark fired Kentuckys, you may like this. I want to address today, I get comments, and I get a lot of material for my thoughts and my talking from comments on the channel. I get a lot of comments. But there's a specific category of comment that I get that kind of troubles me. It has nothing to do with me. It's not, I don't take it personal against me, but it's just a thought process that people have that bothers me.
And this video is very interesting in regards to maybe sometimes the way we talk to people or treat people in regarding to theology. So what he's getting ready to talk about is how we deal with people who are ignorant of things that we know.
So you take like the cooking videos. I've gotten not a lot as in relative to how many comments I've got, but I've gotten a lot of comments. People get on there and they're just really snide, and they're like, I can't believe that you have to, I can't believe that you think that you have to teach something this basic and this simple. Everybody knows this, and it must be some kind of retarded fool that does not know how to cook a meal this simple. And other comments on other videos I've done have been similar. Listen, we're all ignorant, okay? Some are ignorant and arrogant, and some are just ignorant, but we're all ignorant. We're ignorant about something. There's something out there that to somebody is everyday, it's regular, It's common. It's just as simple as breathing. But we've never experienced it. We've never been introduced to it. We don't know anything about it. And so us being ignorant, we don't have the right to take something that we do know about and throw stones at somebody else who don't know about it because they're ignorant. There's an old Persian proverb that says, he that knows not and knows not that he knows not is a fool. Shun him. He that knows not and knows that he knows not is teachable. Teach him. He that knows and knows not that he knows is asleep. Wake him up. And he that knows and knows that he knows is wise. Follow him. The worst people out there to deal with are the people who don't know something and they don't know that they don't know. There's things that we don't know. My horsemanship, I've been doing this for 30 years, my horsemanship has completely turned around in the last 3 to 5 years. It's completely changed because I realized that there was a lot of things that I didn't know. There was more things that I didn't know than there were that I did know. And until I realized that I didn't know, I couldn't learn. And I'm going to say it like this, okay? And this is going to sound kind of harsh to some people, but only a fool berates the ignorant. Regardless of what they're ignorant about, if you know something and you berate someone who's ignorant about that, you're not ignorant, you're a fool. Because you're ignorant about something. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between ignorant and stupid. Ignorant is untaught. Stupid is unteachable. And as long as you think you know what there is to know, you're not teachable about something else. And that's why we're tearing ourselves apart politically. People won't sit down and say, look, I don't understand where you're coming from on this. Let's talk. That's why people are killing each other over religion. They read in a book or they see a video or they meet one person of a religion and they say, well, that's what that person believes. But we're ignorant of that religion. We're ignorant of that belief. We're ignorant of how that person actually sees it. And we won't sit down and learn because we already know. The horse world is one of the worst worlds about that. You went to a seminar by Pat Pirelli or Clinton Anderson, and you read a couple books, and you already know all there is to know. And so when somebody else does something, you stand up and berate their ignorance. And so I guess what I'm doing is I'm berating us for berating other people's ignorance. Listen, there are, and I've said this before on other videos, there are trainers out there. There's an older gentleman on YouTube. His name is Dale Puckett. Pat and Dale Puckett, all right? Is that not right? Mama says that's not right. Pat and Deb. Pat Puckett. Pat and Deb Puckett. That's the guy I'm referring to. Listen, he's up here, all right? He's miles high. These other guys that I refer to quite a bit, Buck Brannaman, these guys, they're way up there. I'm teaching kindergarten and first grade. You didn't come out of your mama's womb knowing the ABCs. You didn't hit the ground knowing how to count 1 + 1 is 2. Somebody had to teach that to you. And it still has to be taught. It still has to be taught. And what aggravates me, I guess, right now is the attitudes that come across. And I don't want people who are just starting out, people who are 35 or 40 years old, who are just starting out, coming on there and reading comments and listening to people who are mocking them and berating them and laughing at them because they don't know the most simple things. And so then they're afraid to ask, and then they're not going to learn. I hope I don't get in trouble here. when my wife and I, when we met and first started dating and we got married, she didn't know how to cook. Why did she not know how to cook? Because her mama didn't teach her. Her daddy didn't teach her. She didn't know how to do laundry. She didn't know how to balance a checkbook. She didn't know how to go buy groceries. Was that her fault? No, it wasn't her fault. She was untaught. And everything I showed her, she soaked it up like a sponge. She wanted to learn, but she wasn't taught. It's just like she's soaking up all this stuff, these videos I'm doing on the saddle and all this stuff. She wants to be taught. And there is no excuse for standing over someone who has not been taught, with your hands on your hips and mocking them and laughing at them because you know something they don't know. That makes you a bully. And if there's anything that's going to cost me my calm, that's going to disturb my calm, it's a bully. Horses and people, it don't matter. Bullies are cowards. And I hate it with a purple passion. About the only thing I'll get on this channel and delete is rude, arrogant bullies and obscene sewer humor. I won't tolerate that. But I mean, there's people get on and say things that I don't agree with. People get on and say things that are just not right. But unless they get on there and they're obnoxious with their knowledge and everybody else is ignorant, I leave them alone. But if they're like that, I'll delete you in a heartbeat because you disturb my calm, and I don't like bullies. Okay? Now, this is a little bit more of a chew than I normally do online. Not in the habit of it, don't want to get in the habit of it. But I think sometimes as fellow people, there has to be somebody who stands up and says, look, y'all ain't behaving right. Y'all ain't behaving right. And it's what I do. So behave yourself. All right? Ease up. Don't be so blooming full of yourself. Don't be so arrogant. You don't know. And some of you don't know that you don't know. And that's even more unforgivable. Okay? So if we don't have a nice world, it's because we're not nice people. So let's help those, whether it's cooking, whether it's cigars, whether it's horses, whatever it is, let's help those who don't know. Let's bring them along with us, and let's go on this journey of discovery together. All right? All right. Now, in the next video, I don't know what it's going to be on, but I promise it'll be a whole lot nicer than this one. And I hope you all have a good evening, and I hope this rocks somebody back on their heels. I hope it does. I hope somebody says, you know what, I need to adjust my approach to life and to my fellow man a little bit. All right, and if it does that, then it's good enough. All right, I appreciate you guys, love you guys, and I just want the best for you. And we'll catch y'all next time.
All right, guys. I think that's gonna be it. There's a couple other videos I thought about doing, but we're already approaching 2 hours here. It looks like most people are over at Jay Dyer's stream with Tristan, but yeah, I think that's. I mean, do you guys want to watch another one or get into the super chats? We're already at a hour 55 here. Guys, make sure you smash that like for everybody that joined in. I can at least handle a few super chats if we decide to do some more here. Let me dive into the super chats. If we decide to watch another one or two, we can. I got one more gulp out of the whiskey here. First super chat came from Genghis Khan 999. We only got 2 super chats. No comment. Thank you so much, Genghis Khan, for your continual support, brother. I truly, truly appreciate it. And then Pim Orsos throws in $5. Thank you so much, Pim. And Pim says, this cowpoke wants me to go back to Big Sky Country. Yeah. Well, Pim, I'm not sure where you are, but, going back to Big Sky Country is not the worst thing in the world. And then he says, DPH, what's your favorite state you've been to? My favorite state I've been to. It's a good one. Well, it depends on what you mean by favorite, right? So I would say in regards to total overall beauty, it would probably still have to be California in regards of the variety of landscape and geography that you have exposure to in California. So in regards to maybe like actually moving to and living, I would say it's probably Montana, Idaho, Utah, that whole area. I like Colorado. Colorado is a beautiful state. I love Colorado and Montana. I would want to live in Colorado because it's kind of like Illinois. Illinois is run from Chicago. Colorado's run from Denver. But Montana, Idaho, Utah. Utah is a very surprisingly beautiful state. Utah was probably the state that blew me away the most. In regards to closer to home on this side of the Mississippi, it'd probably be Tennessee, South Carolina, maybe North Carolina towards the mountains, and Florida. That's probably it. Wyoming's cool. Utah's great, yeah. In regards to overall beauty, it has to be California. In regards to the state you want to live in, it's definitely not California. California's the last place you want to live. So, yeah, I would probably say, geez, if in regards to the most beautiful, just generally the most beautiful state, I would have to say it probably is Montana when you go during the summer. Going to Montana during the summer, I mean, it's Montana. It's incredible. It's incredibly beautiful. The mountains, the greenness, the animals, the landscapes, just Montana during the summer is phenomenal. So if we're going for just aesthetics, Pim, I'm going to go with Montana during the summer. If we're going to move and live, potentially Montana, winters sound a little bit difficult. Idaho, Utah, this side of the Mississippi, Tennessee, South Carolina, Florida, maybe mountainous North Carolina. Probably that's probably my general take, but I'm curious what everybody else thinks. Maine and New Hampshire, never been that far north. I've never been that far north. I wouldn't know, but I've heard Maine's beautiful. I wouldn't know though. Yeah, Keenan says Utah is probably mine. Utah is beautiful. Utah blew me away. I took a trip from San Francisco, went down to L.A., and then from L.A. to Vegas, stayed, and then from Vegas to Denver. And so going from Vegas to Denver, traveling through Utah, as my first time, Utah is a beautiful state. It's a very beautiful state. I enjoyed Utah. I could see myself living in Utah. That's a potential. I could see I don't know if Indiana's the most beautiful state. Storm the Cat says Indiana. It's certainly home to me. I don't know if it's the most beautiful state or my favorite state. It's a solid state though. It's definitely better than the others, that's for sure. So Indiana's got its perks, but I don't like the trajectory of Indianapolis, man. Basically, you look at any major city in the United States since 2020, and the trajectory of the cities. I just saw last night there was a video of the Chicago police basically backing down to a group of, I guess you could kind of say, I don't know how to describe them, vandalizing youth, thugs. I'm not sure. I don't want to say criminals, but there were so many of them that it's like the Chicago police force had to retreat. That's in Chicago. And then that crime is spilling over into Indianapolis because those are two major cities that aren't too far away. And it just seems like you look at any major U.S. city right now, and it's just turning into crap. Yeah, Arizona is really pretty. Shout out to Thea there. I would also say that Arizona is pretty bad. Yeah, but Utah, you kind of get the best of Arizona, like Keenan says. Utah, you get the best of Arizona, and you kind of get Colorado there. I think he's making a really good point. But Arizona is good too. Arizona, you don't have to worry about the winter time. You just got to worry about the 120 degrees summers. But I could see myself going to Arizona. I don't know where it is, dude. My life right now, it's my life is just focusing on finishing this PhD and seeing where life will take me. So I basically have no. I have a trajectory, I have an ideal future, but I have no solid plans other than this and what I do after the next year. Once I finish the PhD, I have no idea. So I could be in one of those states. Who knows? We'll see. We'll certainly see. Next super chat comes from, so thank you so much, Pim, for that. Really looking forward to the sponsored stream when I get back from Florida, Pim. God bless you, brother. Next super chat comes from the Keenan Beats, throws in $4.99, says you can tell he has a big heart. Yeah, I love Dwayne. It's good stuff, man. It's solid content. Every single video is solid of his, man. Dwayne puts out solid content. That's why I thought, man, he offers something that I can't offer, that I don't do. So it's like I should do a stream showing people his channel, so young guys who are interested in that stuff, and maybe they want to go to a school, maybe they want to start looking into that lifestyle, becoming a cowboy, having an income that's sort of off the grid, if you will. That maybe this would be an ideal stream. So I thought it would give us all general wisdom, but then maybe for some, maybe just 1% to 2% of the people who watch this video, maybe it changes the trajectory of their lives. So that's what I thought. But yeah, you can tell when he speaks, he's very articulate. He's very clear in his ideas. It's very insightful and deep, and it's very concise, right? I sit here and ramble on for 2 hours, and he makes like 10-minute videos. So yeah, Gabriel Lopez said, I'm thankful to have moved to Big Sky Country. Well, it's beautiful there. I love Montana. I could see myself living in Montana. It's potential. That's definitely not ruled out. I could see myself living in Montana. So I may be up there with you, Gabriel Lopez. Who knows? Next super chat comes from the Disgruntled Doc. Shout out to you, brother, and the wife. Hope you guys are doing well. Throws in $10 and says, great content, brother. Humility check hit hard. Good reminder to be humble and love others. Absolutely, man. I probably should have played that one earlier in the stream, but who knows? I hope I hope the people who need to see the videos see the videos. So I hope through Providence they watch through, and those who needed to see that video, I hope they see it. But I agree. I think when I first watched it, I thought about how frustrated I get sometimes with some of the questions. I get irritated when I feel like I get asked the same question over and over sometimes, or maybe it's a topic or item of discussion that I lay out multiple times in streams and stuff, and so I feel like, to me, I repeat myself a lot of the times, and I'm conscientious of that because I'm the one speaking it. But maybe somebody else, they didn't see that stream, they don't know what the topic is, and I can be short sometimes when people ask certain questions just because. Based on my own busyness, my own disposition, my own, frustration, I guess. And that video helped me realize that, like, if somebody's reaching out to me to ask me a question, no matter how ignorant, like she's talking about ignorance, just not knowing, being untaught, I shouldn't get frustrated with that. At the same time, I do get very frustrated with people who, like, want to debate all the time. And so there's a fine line there, right, between people like luring you in by asking you a question and then you respond and then it turns into some debate and you're like, I don't want to debate, bro, to you assuming things about the person because they ask a question. So that definitely brought a humility check for me, that the way that I deal with anybody who I might perceive, some guy, that I just got to be more conscientious of potential assumptions I make, and basically continue to put the effort and make them prove to me that the assumption is right, that I always need to extend, and like you said, meet them halfway. And so I plan on definitely being more conscientious of that and making a better effort. And I think we can all we do the apologetics thing, and so it's so quick that we always want to dunk on people to show how much we know about theology or how right we are. But really only like helping ignorant people and then only engaging with like worthy opponents is like the honorable way to approach apologetics, right? Like doing apologetics and dunking on people who are ignorant, that's not really honorable. The only honorable thing to do, especially if I'm going to have a PhD, it is not honorable for me to dunk on any like Joe Schmo because they want to challenge me or on something. And that's why I don't, you'll see me in the comment section. I really do not go back and forth with people who challenge or disagree. Just because I don't even want to get there. But yeah, the video certainly made me more conscientious about how I want to respond and how I want to represent myself and how I want to deal with potentially ignorant people, and that if I just always do the right thing, shame on them if they take advantage in some way. So I'm with you, Disgruntled Docs. I think it was a good humility check. I watched that like a week or so ago. And so, yeah. Don't want to make assumptions about people. Don't want to be too hard on people. And if they're ignorant, well, then it's on my job, and it's honorable on me to try to extend that olive branch and educate them. And so I want to make sure that my life is honorable. I want to make sure that whether other people live up to it or not, that I live up to my own code and expectations of like masculine honor and what I think God would want from me. And so I'm definitely going to approach that a lot better and basically only do apologetics. Even my debate with P.F. Young, I don't know. Should I feel bad about that? I mean, I guess he wanted to do it, and he was kind of talking smack, but I don't know. It's almost like I should only do it with things that are real challenges, that are real opponents, that are real quality adversaries, because that's the only honorable thing to do. To use your skill set in any other way is not that honorable. So, anyway, shout out to Disgruntled Docs and the wife. Hope the family's doing well. It says, great content, brother. Humility check hit hard. Good reminder to humble and love others. Amen to that, man. Disgruntled Doc says, I'm not crying, you're crying. Hilarious. God bless you, bro. Next super chat comes from the Thomas Henderson. Shout out to our brother Thomas Henderson from the north of the border there in Canada. Says, great stream, real gems of wisdom. Imagine if you could get him on as a guest. That's interesting. I should try to reach out and see if that's a real potentiality. See if I can get Dwayne on. And just start asking him. I'm sure he'd have so many stories to share that we would just have a combo on like traditional masculinity with Dwayne from Dry Creek Wrangler School. That's a great idea, Thomas. I didn't even think about having him on, but I should reach out to Dwayne and see if he wants to do a podcast together. That's a really good idea. I'm going to do that, Thomas. And I'm also going to reach out to Jonathan Paggio when I get back from Florida. So Paggio, Dwayne, I still trying to work out something with Father Abbott Trefon. If you guys got some popular big YouTubers that you think we should have conversations, let me know. I'm going to reach out to a ton of people here this fall, especially people with bigger followings. So that'd be a lot of fun. I'm definitely down. Great suggestion, Thomas Henderson. Next super chat comes from Storm the Cat, throws in $5 and says, for a few dollars more is a good cowboy movie. For a few dollars more. I have seen that one, Storm the Cat, or at least I believe I did. Yes, I did. Yes, for a few dollars more. Yeah, I've seen that one. That is a good one. Yeah, so everybody go check that one out for a few. I may watch it tonight. It's 8:49. We're done here. I may check out Jay and Tristan, see what they're chatting about, and then that's not a bad idea. So thank you so much, Storm the Cat, for the recommendation. Again, God bless for the $5. He says, for a few dollars more is a good cowboy movie. God bless Storm the Cat. God bless you and the family, bro. Thanks for all the support. And last super chat comes from Cowboy Schwab. Throws in $5 and says, you will giddy up, you will cowboy up, and you will be happy. Absolutely, Cowboy Schwab. And we all need to cowboy up a little bit more. And I think that's just good life advice. That's just good masculine life advice. We got to cowboy up, boys and girls. And so anyways, this is going to conclude our stream on cowboy wisdom. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, make sure to go subscribe to Dry Creek Wrangler School with Dwayne and his wife, and support what they're doing because, ostensibly they're going to be continuing to put out content and have a lot of good stuff. So I'll let you guys go. Make sure to smash that like, and I will see you guys I'll see you guys Wednesday for the Native and Indigenous Traditions Introduction to World Religions.